And today I realized I have not done a book review since I first started this channel, which was a couple months ago, and I decided that that needed to change. However, I didn't know what book to do a book review on until I read Lois Lane Fallout by Gwenda Bond. The reason I'm choosing this book to do a book review on in a video is a couple-fold. One is because I read it in the space of almost a day and I found it absolutely delightful, and two, I haven't seen it around on BookTube and I wonder why. It came out in May and it's wonderful, and I think it's a really cool topic that I think a lot of people should read. And so while I don't have the biggest following, I'm going to try and give this book as much of a boost as I can because it certainly deserves it. First, to start off, this book is about Lois Lane, and a lot of you should recognize that name from the Superman storyline. If you don't, you've been living under a rock. Get out from under your rock and educate yourself. This book, Fallout, is a spin-off of Lois Lane as a teenager. So it doesn't follow Superman, it follows Lois Lane, which I think is pretty cool. Yay, go strong women in literature. Woohoo! The best way that I know how to describe it is like if Supernatural and Veronica Mars had a baby, it would be this book. Lois Lane has just moved to Metropolis. She, out of a weird kind of coincidental moment, gets a job at the local newspaper called the Daily Planet. And Lois has the habit of getting herself into trouble, which, yeah, makes sense for a snoop like her. Discovers this group called the Warheads that are kind of these weird group of kids that like all dress the same and they all like jump over each other's sentences, like they can read each other's minds or something, and she realizes that they're bullying some of the kids. She wants to try and put an end to it, but it's not your typical bullying story because they're like weird powers, experimentation with it. Because remember, she's from like superhero world, so you know there's got to be some supernatural elements to it. In the meantime, she has a secret, and that secret is this boy that she chats with online called Smallville Guy. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Basically, she's chatting up Superman as a teenager, which is pretty damn cool if you ask me. They get themselves launched off into this adventure trying to fight the Warheads while she's trying to get a story for the Daily Planet and, you know, meeting friends and doing new high school things. Overall, I thought it was really witty, clever, which I think are synonymous enough for me to not be using them to explain this book, but whatever. Really endearing, funny. I thought that Lois Lane as a character was really well written. It's written in a first-person perspective, and I think that she was just interesting and fascinating to follow, and I didn't know how it was going to end, and I was really interested in uncovering the mystery as she was uncovering it. I also really liked that while there was like a little bit of romantic tension with Smallville Guy, because she doesn't really know where they're at, she doesn't know who he is. That's the thing. He won't tell her name. They're only online talking because they met because of some weird thing she saw when she was driving through Kansas, aka a flying man. I'm too excited about all the little references to Superman in this book. So if you are a comic book nerd, I think that Gwenda Bond does a great tribute to this storyline and adds her own twist to it. I also love the element of friendship that's in it, because while there is like that little bit of romantic tension, it's not focused on the romance at all, which makes me really happy. And I can't really remember a YA book that I read that didn't have some elements of romance to it, so this book was a really different take on that. And like I said, because there was like sprinklings of it, but that wasn't the main part of the story. The main relationships in the story were Lois trying to befriend the people she's working with and trying to, you know, have social justice at her school and like trying to figure out what's going on. And I think that the relationships between the characters was so much more fascinating that way without the romantic tension in it, and I really enjoyed it a heck of a lot more. Also, on the flip side, I really like the world that Gwenda Bond created, because in it, it's like, again, that sort of superhero, it could be in our timeness, but there's obviously some futuristic elements to it, because like there's this game console that's like very simulation oriented, like you put it on your head like a dome, and like you can play World of Warcraft 3 type thing, and that's not actually what it's called, but it's like a type of game. It's like very realistic, like when she gets shot in the game, it's like, ow, I actually felt it. And you know, she's not bleeding, but you know, it's very realistic for her, and they talk about like side effects of coming out of the game and stuff. And so I think that it had a wonderful comic book feel without actually being a comic book. This book, I'm really glad to share it with people and give it an honest review of about 4.5 stars out of 5. And the reason I say that is because it wasn't 100% perfect for me. I'm more interested to see what she does later with it. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that it's a series of sorts and that there's more books from her perspective. It got me out of my ADD reading slump. Like, I was having such a hard time finding one book to read, and I picked this up off the library shelves, and now I definitely want to own it. It's still a good favorite of mine. Like I said, I still gave it a high rating on Goodreads. I think I only gave it like a 4 out of 5 because you can't do half stars, which is silly. I think that it's a great adventure sort of mystery with the supernatural twist to it that people would really enjoy. I hope that you guys pick up this book. If you want to have any of your own comments below because you've read it or you want to read it and want more information, go ahead and shoot me a comment. I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have and start up a discussion with you guys on this book if you read it. This was a review on LOIS Lane Fallout by Gwenda Bond. Until next time, guys, bye! I don't think I've spoiled anything so far. I don't really want to talk about any spoilers, because I don't like reviews with spoilers in them.